I want to talk why we have this Deaf History Month and why we recognize it and why it's so important. So I'll start with that. During the month of April, we typically focus on the history of deaf people. This includes their language, their culture, their employment, and their education. So this is a month to recognize us, to honor our culture, to learn from each other, and to partner with our larger society. Okay. The topic that we will be talking about today are challenges and triumphs. For today, we have 4 panelists with us who will share their deaf and hard of hearing college experience. Why don't we go ahead and go down the line with introduction? Well, let's go to the next slide. Hold on just one second. We're waiting for the next slide. There we go. Okay. Oh. And then we're gonna hold on just 1 second. So once more, my name is Latrina. I work for the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Often you see it abbreviated as ACDHH. I'm a family services specialist there, and I'm so thrilled to be your moderator for this afternoon. With us, we have a full panel. If we can pan the camera, just faces, so everyone online can get a look as well. There we go. Okay, those are our 4. If we can go to the next slide as well. So during your introduction, I would like you to touch on 5 quick points. First, share with us your name and your sign name if you have it. Let us know what year in college you are, whether you're a freshman, junior, or a senior, or sophomore. Even if you're a special student or a transfer student, include that as well. Third, let us know what your major is and your minor if you have one. Let us know if you were born deaf or hard of hearing. And let us know where you grew up. We'll leave the questions on the board so you can see them as you go through your answers. All right, we're going to answer number 1 to begin with. And if we can pan to the very end of our panelists, furthest from me, we'll get started.
Hello, my name is Xavier, and I don't have a name sign, unfortunately. I am a junior here at the U of A, and I'm majoring in studio art with an emphasis on illustration design and animation. So I really like doing a lot of creative stuff. I was born hard of hearing. It was noticed around I'd say 6 or 7, but it's progressively got a lot worse, especially in high school. And I was raised in a hard of hearing family. My mom, she is hard of hearing. She wears hearing aids, and my grandfather, he's also almost deaf. He wears hearing aids too, so it's hereditary. Oh, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona here.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Hi everyone, I'm Kaylin. I'm a junior. I'm a deaf studies major, minoring in gender and women's studies. I was born deaf, completely deaf. And I was born in Kansas City, Fort Riley. Wonderful, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Emma. I am a sophomore in college, and I have a major in psychology and also deaf studies. I'm trying to work to get to the educational program with that. And then I have a minor in human development and family sciences. And I wasn't born hard of hearing, but I lost it around like 7, and then my hearing had just progressively gotten worse. And then I was born and raised in Chandler, AZ.
Nice to meet you as well, Emma. Okay, go ahead. Hi, everyone. I'm Javier. My name sign is XC. Yeah. I'm a senior here at the U. I'm an architect major. I'm a landscape architect major. But I'm also a deaf studies major. And I'll be continuing my education this summer in the ed program. I was born hearing. But during my military service, I became hard of hearing. I was born here in Tucson. Yeah. Wonderful. It's nice to meet you. Oh, let me wait for the camera to get back to me. Sorry about that. Very nice to meet each of the panelists. I appreciate hearing a bit of the background, knowing who they are. We'll get to know them a bit more during our questions. I've pre-planned a total of 12, and we're going to touch on various categories as we make our way through them. And we'll go ahead, probably keep the same order. That way it's a bit easier for everyone to keep track. Okay, let's go ahead. Next slide. Question 1, please. Give everyone a few minutes to read the question, and then I'll sign. Okay. So this category are questions related to personal experience and your journey through college. So let's answer question 1 first, and then we'll start again with question 2. So question 1 is, can you tell us about your experience as a deaf or hard of hearing student in college?
Yeah, so my experience being hard of hearing has been really interesting because I've gone through college trying to just be as normal as possible, even though I might not be able to hear everything or might not be able to be in every conversation that my friends are having. But I think over the course of my college journey, I've taken everything and tried to turn it to a positive and really just be my own person. And I think I've made the most out of my college experience already. The first 2 years of college, I was Wilbur the Wildcat, the mascot. So I got to travel the country and, go to games and support my team. And that was definitely during a time where U of A was winning a lot of football and basketball games. Super exciting, especially as a Tucson native. And I never let my hearing, change that, because being Wilbur, I didn't have to talk. If people needed to ask me something, they'd already be yelling at me through the mask. So yeah, and it was such an amazing, perfect experience for me. And I also joined a junior club, Lynx Junior Honorary, which is a 100-year-long club. And I got to meet so many people through that and impact the community through that. And I don't think a lot of my challenges really stopped me from trying new things and really experiencing college.
That's wonderful. Okay, go ahead, Karen. Really, my experience has been fun. I still get to socialize, and it's been lots of fun. I hang out with a lot of deaf studies majors because they know ASL. They know to give me access to talk to my face. They don't turn and walk away from me, or they don't try to yell or anything like that. So that's been really nice. I really like my classes as well. So that's a huge advantage. They're really interesting. I don't mind going. And just as Javier just said, going to the games, basketball especially, has been a lot of fun.
The transition from high school to college as being a hard of hearing person was very refreshing. I feel like in high school, people were more judgmental about the fact that I was hard of hearing, and they were more likely to like call me names or something like that. And in college, people really just don't care, and so that's been refreshing.
What a nice experience. That's good. It's more positive. Okay. So again, I had a few changes. I was going from military service. So that thing to school was hard. I noticed in classes, I was finding I couldn't hear that well. So I went to the doctor. That's where I got hearing aids. But then there was a lot of stress that came with that because of the feedback and just the newness of them. All the sounds that were coming at me. So I would say, other than that, I think my experience is really different from, I would say, majority here. How neat. It's nice to have a bit of insight to their experiences and how each of them have navigated college. Of course, every story is going to be unique. Thank you so much for sharing each of you. Let's go on now to the second question. So the first question was looking at your unique experiences. Now I'd like us to look at the challenges maybe you found in college and how you worked through them.
I think I faced a lot of challenges being really reliant on my hearing aids, and sometimes my batteries run out, or I need to change like my filters in my hearing aids at the like worst time. So without them, I can't really hear that many noises. Everything's very muffled. And so being reliant on something is definitely really hard, especially when you're in class, when you're around friends and you don't want to miss out on things. But one of the things I've learned to get through that is just to be prepared. I always have extra batteries, I always have extra filters on hand. And also just turn a lot of those into a positive. Without my hearing aids, I can sleep super nice. I don't hear anything. Or if someone's being a bit too loud, or if someone's being a bit too annoying, I just take them out so I don't have to listen to them. Yeah, so definitely a lot of challenges with that.
I definitely had to do a lot of advocating for myself, especially with requesting interpreters, and that's been okay. The DRC. Let me explain what the DRC is. That's the Disability Resource Center here at the university. So they provide interpreters, captioners, whatever service you need for accessing your education. And so usually everything works out just fine with my classes. I send my requests in and whatever I need is provided. But sometimes if I have an off-campus event or something similar like that comes up, I still have to send the request in. If the class maybe has a video that's required to watch as homework, or even if they show it in class, I have to make sure that the professor is aware that they need to have the video captioned by the DRC or to the video that's already accessible. So that kind of thing when it comes to advocacy, but most of the time my accommodations are met.
I would agree with Kaylin. The DRC is an amazing resource, and they're very good about getting you the accommodations you needed. But this question reminded me of a specific experience. It was my very first day of college, my very first class. It was that Unit 101 class you have to take. And the teacher basically explained that he had received an email from the DRC saying that there was a deaf or hard of hearing person in the class and basically like asked them to like identify themselves in front of the full class. And so I didn't do that because I just thought, oh, that's like really, really awkward. And I did it after class. And so I just think sometimes there's a lack of understanding with accommodations and people mean well, but it's sometimes they mess up a little bit.
Thank you.
So really, my experience, what's been hard is, getting used to the hearing aids and hearing all of the extra sounds that are coming through. It's kind of a similar experience to Emma. I remember my first semester here at U of A. I was taking an optics class. And I was sitting in the class auditorium at the very top. And I could not hear the professor at all. So I asked, if he could repeat what he was saying. And, he says, "What, are you deaf?" And I stood up and I showed him my hearing aid. I said, "Yeah, I'm hard of hearing." So now, he was a little embarrassed by that. So someone maybe, they suggested going to the register or to register later or registered late review. They said they'd review with the teacher.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up getting fired for doing that. So that was my first year here at U of A, that experience. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Each of our panelists had an experience of confronting different challenges. And yes, the DRC does provide services, which is great. But with those services can come negative experiences still, especially because not everyone has been through the proper training. They don't necessarily know what to say. And so maybe they, in their own way, are put off, and that comes out inappropriately. And so unfortunately, that's too bad that happens. But we do have trainings that are called cultural sensitivity trainings. And those sort of trainings really help to expose and to spread awareness so that people like the professors, if they should meet students similar to our panelists in the future, they know next time to approach it in a different way. A much more appropriate way. So thank you so much for your sincerity and your honesty in your responses. We really appreciate that. Okay, next slide, and the next questions are there. I'll give you a moment again to read through them.
Wow.
All right, so this is touching on our second area for cultural and identity exploration. This can vary in different contexts and different situations. I know some of your answers have been mentioned already, but if you'd like to elaborate more, you are welcome to. So let's read question 3 now. How do you identify within the deaf and hard of hearing community? And what does identity mean to you?
I think I definitely identify with the hard of hearing community, especially with my family and growing up surrounded by people that wear hearing aids and people that understand certain things that other people wouldn't understand. Like there's always captions on the TV, and if there's not, then we have to stop everything and get captions. Yeah, and it's also made me more attached to the deaf community too. When I started taking sign language and learning about deaf culture, there were some things that really clicked with me. and that I resonated with, something that other people really wouldn't understand, which is really, really cool. And that there's a whole community out there that have like a set of rules and a set of things that make them feel more connected to each other. And I think that's very powerful, and that means a lot to me in that bit. And I really am excited to learn more about that.
Yeah, so my identity really is connected to the deaf community. I was born deaf. My parents were like, oh, okay, so they started taking sign language classes. I went to a deaf school through my elementary. And all of the kids there were just like me, so we signed, we made connections. And we understood the culture behind it. We could just have that empathy for each other. And feel that connection with other people in other languages because of culture, you know? Thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't born hard of hearing, and I grew up in a completely hearing family. And so before coming to college, I didn't really get the chance to interact with the deaf or hard of hearing community. I mean, like maybe I have a classmate that was hard of hearing that we would develop like a teamwork with. But other than that, I really hadn't had any experience with the deaf community until I came to the U of A. But now that I've been at the U of A, they have a lot of different opportunities to immerse yourself in the deaf community, whether it's socials or various events at ASDB. It's very exciting.
Yeah, so my identity is deaf or hard of hearing. Really, it's still being explored. So I will use my voice sometimes. Sometimes I sign. I use more bad words though when I talk, so. I prefer sign for that. We really live in two different worlds. So I live in the hearing community and the hard of hearing. I especially like my car because I can make it loud and I can feel the sounds. I can feel, what did you say, the HP, the horsepower. I can feel the horsepower in the car through my toes. And so that's really how I identify. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate each of you explaining your experience and how you tie into the community, whether it's from birth or at a later point in life. That in and of itself is common. And so some people will connect with the community early on, while others don't. It's all an individual journey. We're on to question 4 now, and I'll expand on it a little bit more. Can you please describe a moment where you felt a strong sense of belonging with the deaf community? Or how do you balance being part of both the deaf and the hearing world?
I felt a strong sense of belonging within the deaf community my first semester of sign language last semester, because I never knew sign language beforehand or deaf culture. And then the moment that I started learning, something clicked, because I'm forced to have kind of I was forced to be a visual learner growing up without hearing. And so all of a sudden I was like excelling in this class because I was really immersed and I was really using these skills that I've had my whole life, especially during like the deaf socials. I was talking with friends and I was getting jokes like super quickly and understanding on more of like a social level, which I never thought I'd understand. But I was really happy with how things kind of connected in a way that I didn't think it would.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, like I said before, I went to a deaf elementary school and we lived in Kansas and we were there for several years. My dad was in the military, so we moved pretty often. I think the 4th or 5th grade, I was mainstreamed into a public school and there were no other deaf kids. There were 3 other deaf kids with me. And so we would hang out with them. We would sign or talk. We would do it, both. And then we would move again and I would be homeschooled and interact more with hearing kids. And then we would move again and be mainstreamed and try to find deaf kids to hang out with. And so they would leave and then I would leave. So trying to make that connection back again to my deaf roots, here at the U of A, whenever I got here and then finding the deaf community. So I think that's whenever I feel like I was really connected. When I was connected to my community and to deaf people and people who could understand me, just like Javier said, you understood the jokes better, and you'd laugh and other people say, well, what do you, before I just kind of like laugh and not really know what people were saying, but now I'm a lot more involved in that. So it's been good. All right. Emma.
I kind of have similar experiences that both Javier and Galen have had, just with the like the being able to be in a group at a deaf social and understand everything that is being said. It's just very different from what many deaf and hard of hearing people are used to. I really specifically like 2 weeks ago, ASDB had an amazing Dancing with the Stars event. And so I went with a bunch of my ASL4 classmates. And so they were all talking and I just didn't understand a word they were saying. And I just felt really connected to the deaf and hard of hearing community then, because I'm like, oh, like in class, I know what they're saying and they don't really understand. Whereas now I'm in their court and I don't understand what's being said, but yeah.
Thank you. When I'm thinking of specific moments, I actually think back to a time with my nephew. His name's Joey. He was born deaf. And one day I went up to him and I started signing, like, hey, I know ASL. And just the look on his face from that was so blissful. He couldn't believe that I could sign. He's like, you know ASL? Yeah, I do. And so I guess this is my nephew and he talks, but it's so cool because with the rest of the family, he has to talk. But when he comes with me, he gets signed. And his parents will ask me all the time, like, what did you say? What is he saying? Or whatever. And I'll just tell them like, well, you should learn, And so that for me was a really special moment where I felt connected. Oh, I love that. It's so inspiring. Again, the individual experiences of how you connect and then also how you balance between the two worlds. I know it's a daily challenge for all of us, walking that line, and we each do it in our own way. So despite it being our own way, there are similarities. I was actually one of the judges for Dancing with the Deaf Stars, and you're right, Emma, it was so fun. Yeah, we had all the dancing partners were partnered of deaf and hearing. And so that's a really neat illustration of the balance that we're all trying to work. We had interpreters there, we had music there, it was very loud so that the deaf partners could feel it, just as was being talked about earlier. And so I'm in total agreement that finding that perfect balance between the two is really how our society should be working. Can we go to the next slide, please? Give you a moment to read. We have 3 questions on this slide, numbers 5, 6, and 7. This category is talking about educational and accessibility experiences. Go ahead and take a moment to read. Okay, we'll start with question 5. What accommodations or resources have been most helpful for you in your studies?
I think I would say the most helpful accommodation is just how the Disability Resource Center lets like teachers know about my disability and just that's something on their mind that they have. And I usually have a conversation the first day of school with my teachers about what accommodations I might need. But I think the most important is just having them know about it because I might need to ask questions later on after class or verify things. But my teacher last class, she was really, really helpful and emailed me a video that didn't have captions when we were looking at it in class, but she was kind enough to know that and email it to me later without me even asking. So stuff like that was really, really helpful.
I rely pretty heavily on the interpreters as an accommodation. And then having captions on videos. I prefer the interpreters and the captions, so those are my primary accommodations I use.
Yeah, the captions, the U of A is really, the DRC is very good about expressing the importance of captions. I know in my high school experience, I would always have to like kind of beg the teachers to turn on captions, like please, please, please turn on the captions. Like it would be a constant thing every time we watched the video, but most of the professors here at the U of A are pretty good about turning the captions on automatically.
For me, I don't always use accommodations actually. Especially because I became hard of hearing about 6 years ago. And so my hearing stays. I do have some residual hearing there. So I really don't find myself using accommodations. All right, again, we notice an individuality when it comes to accommodations that best support our students. I do have a follow-up question. Do any of you use card caption writers or real-time card writers in your? I know we have closed captioning options on film, but do any of you use card writers in your classroom to get a text stream of the discussion?
And it says I have in the past.
Up to 3, no.
Caitlin says no. Anita says no. No.
Okay, so that's just one other tool that is available. Cart writers or real-time transcriptionists. And so you may see this person often in a courtroom, but they will work in various settings where they type out verbatim the questions, the discussion, and so you get a full live word for word transcript. This isn't an AI or any kind of tech software program. This is an actual human in the room listening and transcribing every word that's said. And it also indicates what person said what comment is being transcribed. That way you can follow. So if Emma had a comment, that would be indicated, Kaylin, and so on and so forth. And so that is also a really nice option. I know you're a senior, but those of you who aren't seniors, if you think that that might be something that you would find beneficial, reach out to DRC and ask for that. In my new position at ACDHH, I actually do a full presentation on it. So it's really helpful and I can help you in requesting the access if you'd like as well. Okay, we're gonna move on to question 6 now. This question is, what advice do you have for professors or lecturers in terms of fostering inclusive classrooms for deaf and hard of hearing students? This has been mentioned a little bit before, that the DRC does reach out on your behalf ahead of time. But we'll go ahead.
I don't have any advice really for teachers, because I know they have like a lot on their table, and I know like it can be hard to just remember like the really small things. But my mom, she taught me growing up to really advocate for myself, and I think advocating for myself has been the thing that's helped me the most. Really like putting myself out there, letting them know, getting connection with the teacher, because that makes them remember more instead of them, subconsciously knowing these things, because it's really hard to forget.
Yeah, I guess I would say you don't have to point out the deaf person in the class. For me personally, the interpreters are already there. It kind of outs me in that way, so it's fine. If you want to ask me personal questions, that's fine. I'm open to that, but don't ask the interpreter something about me. Ask me directly, and don't do it in front of the class.
Yeah, I would say, the DRC does a very good job at already letting everyone know. But just in general, understanding that the deaf or hard of hearing student is a student first, and that accommodations aren't necessarily like extra help. The person is just trying to achieve the same level of access that everyone else in the room does. And so I think a lot of the times accommodations get confused. They just assume, oh, maybe this student isn't going to be as intelligent, when that's not the case. They're just trying to promote equal access in the classroom.
I think the three previous answers really are the best answers. I think it needs to be advertised, don't assume that everyone can hear. And if you're talking with us, please look at us. Thank you again. Really a big emphasis on every answer about communication and access. Right, accommodations and access. And I really love the comment about access and accommodations. It's not extra help. It really is trying to access what already is there. So thank you for that very, very much. It's good to have this awareness and make sure to spread that awareness, right? Those of you who are here in the room as well as on Zoom. If you see that misunderstanding out there, please, this is your charge to clarify. Make sure that people know it's part of our needs so that our basic needs can be met and accessed.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to number 7. We have answered this a bit, but if you want to expand on your previous answers, you are welcome to. Have you ever had to advocate for your own accommodations? Anybody want to add to what has been answered? Yes. So I would say I have to sit in the front, Being able to see a face and to read is really I have to be in front to be able to do that, and having that access makes it easier for me. Say just a little bit more back to Latrina. Yes. Okay, and yes, of course, again, this is individualized, right? Some people, especially hard of hearing individuals, want to be in the front, want to have a face facing them, be able to access the lips. And that's one reason why we do make sure that we have multiple ways of access. You can see on Zoom, it might be much easier to access than in the room. And you want to be able to see the emotion coming behind the message. Is this a light conversation? Are we joking about something, or is this very serious? And so we always need to make sure that we take the time for access. And just as we're doing today, we have to make sure that everyone has the time to be heard in their comments. Oh, we have the other Xavier who'd like to make a comment. If we can pan to the opposite end of the tree.
I just want to add on that sitting in the front, because I've sat in the front like my whole life. And I've used in the front, but in my sign language class, I got to sit in the back for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Ever, and it felt like I was doing something illegal because I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here. And I thought that was like really, really great experience because I could understand everything, but still be in the back like a cool kid and all of that.
Oh, that's really hilarious. You're exactly right. Sort of the reverse experience, right? You get to end anywhere now instead of being tied to the front. It's nice to have choices. I feel that way sometimes too.
Share.
I sit in the back. I can talk to whoever I'm next to, and this is dangerous for me, so I have to sit in the front to keep myself focused. But afterwards, I sit in the back and I get caught up on all the tea. But again, we should have our own individual right to decide where we sit, because again, this is individual. What works for one person doesn't work for everyone else. There's also sort of an elevator pitch that we all have to develop so that you can quickly explain, actually, I'm hard of hearing, it's more beneficial for me to have this seat, so that others will be willing to work with you. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Next slide.
Yes, next slide, sorry.
Nah.
Okay, this is one of my favorite categories to spend time in. We have 3 questions looking at the future outlook and advocacy. Take a moment to read through them. Okay, we'll get started with question 8. How do you see the future of deaf education evolving? What changes would you like to see?
I see it evolving very quickly, especially since high school. Like sign language is a really hard class to get into because so many people want to take it. And I think that's really, really cool and really, really it's a positive impact for people like me and people on this panel. And I think I would like to see it even evolving more. But I think it's on a great track right now.
So I'm a deaf studies major, so I see a lot of hearing, maybe hard of hearing students who are taking ASL classes and wanting to learn to become an interpreter and learning about the deaf community and deaf culture and the awareness spreading. So I think that's helping people to educate deaf children and to provide the access that they need for education. So I really do appreciate that. I think specifically in the classroom, I think there's a lot of classes that I've seen where English or if it's a discussion class, having people sit around in a corner or like in a circle, like science classes have a huge like auditorium size, but this kind of room where everyone can sit and see each other. And not really just having those rows of chairs. That's very beneficial for the deaf and hard of hearing student to be able to see other people. I think it'd be beneficial for hearing students as well, so that they can interact with other students and not just stare straight ahead.
Thank you.
Wow, I mean, Kaylin was on the same wavelength as I was. I was going to say something similar. I think with more and more people taking sign language, there's a better understanding and awareness of the deaf community and deaf culture, but I still don't think, like I mentioned earlier, with the accommodations and everything, where something is just us trying to gain access to a space, people see that as extra help. And I just really think we need to continue to move towards a place where, no, this is not extra help. This is just trying to be able to access the environment. You guys don't even have to think like once or twice about accessing.
I think one thing that I would want to see change is just universal access. Give me a moment. I would like to see more bilingual and bicultural education from really young ages. I want those young kids to have that access and learn just like me. Thank you so much each for sharing. I'm a deaf ed teacher at heart, and so to hear your ideas, I completely agree. We need a lot more exposure for younger kids, that's hard of hearing, and especially bilingual education, definitely. I think we need a lot more exposure for, yes, bilingual and bicultural education. That should be emphasized from quite a young age on. That way, it's internalized and that identity isn't looked at as a deficit identity. And it would be nice if all deaf schools had that and had the option and had the socialization options for all students. We talked about technology already. Do you want to add to any technology, the prior discussion at all? Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, of course, we have to have some fun questions. So we'll start with number 1. It's a little bit more interactive than what we've been doing before. After these couple questions, we'll stop for our question and answer session. So please give us one word, that's it, one word. How would you describe your deaf and hard of hearing experience in one word? And what would it be? And why?
I think my one word would be immersion, because I didn't really hear that word until I took a sign language class. And I think that represents being immersed in my own world and doing my own thing, or where I got to grow by myself, but also being immersed in deaf culture and also my own culture.
Wow. Thank you.
One word, it fits identity for me. Resilience. Just continue working through things like everyone else. Everyone's going through something, and just know that you can do it. Just keep being resilient.
Wow, everyone came up with more serious answers. For this one, I said my one word identity is what? Like that. Someone like what? Like what did you just say? Because all my friends know, like I'm constantly asking that, like what? What? And so that's my one word identity.
What? I love it. My one word identity, I think, would be pressure or caring. Embrace would be embrace. Sorry about that. Because you really need to embrace who you are. You're in college and you're learning who you're becoming or who you want to become. And so in my experience, I became this person now who's part of this hard of hearing person that's now part of my identity. Oh, let's say it again. Oh, can we get the camera down just a bit? Thank you very much. Oh, I'll say it again. Wow. Each person word is really impactful. immersion. And you're exactly right. You have to jump right into the language and the culture, just take a full dive in. So I love that. And then resilience, you're exactly right. What a powerful word. We have to keep going through life every day. And then what? Oh, I love that, Emma. That's too funny. And it's very true. Often you're like, what? I didn't hear, I didn't see. Can you say that again? And then to embrace. That's so inspiring. Thank you, each of you, for your collection of words. Okay, I think let's go to the next slide. I'm gonna skip question 2. You guys want to answer number 3? Okay, let's do where people be like. For number 3. So this can be a funny or a frustrating experience as a deaf or hard of hearing person that hearing people face you're confronted with.
Just like Xavier's story with his teacher, a teammate on my soccer team in high school was talking to me or asking me something, and I could not hear what he said. And he said, "What are you, deaf?" And I was like, "Well, I'm pretty close to it." And this is when like I had longer hair and couldn't really see my hearing aids, and it was just super frustrating. And to hear that story about Xavier really frustrated me too, because it's just inconsiderate, and also you go through life thinking that people aren't really that inconsiderate, but you get reminded with things like that. So yeah, very frustrating.
So I have to, kind of funny. So I do speak English and I use sign language as well. So some people don't realize that I'm deaf whenever they're talking to me directly. And they'll say, "Oh, I like your list." And I said, "Oh, they'll say, 'Where are you from? You have an accent.' I'm like, I'm deaf. That's where it's from."
Yeah, everyone has been asked where they're from at least once. I feel like have you all? Yeah, yeah. But just deaf almost became this pop culture thing. So hearing people are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so deaf." And sometimes I let it slide, but sometimes if they catch me on a bad day, I'll be like, "Oh my gosh," saying like, "What color is your hearing aid?" Like I'll be like, just like I'll show them mine just to make it awkward. I will take a situation like that and run with it.
I think hearing people be like, "Whoa, are you good?" They'll be like, "Yeah, I am." And I'll say, "What? You can't hear? You can't hear what I sign?" Oh, I love that. Let's wrap it up.
Now
with a
you
little
know.
humor. Perfect. Now you know, be careful what you say. But still, be yourselves. You are open to ask questions. This is now the time for Q&A. If there's any questions in the room or any that have come through in chat for any of our panelists, please ask them now.
So,
Hold on.
Stop that.
We have an in the room question. It was just.
These controls are kind of slow, so I'm sorry.
I.
Am I on the right side?
Right, yes, yeah.
But more.
Can you zoom in just a bit more? We want full accessibility. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay, so my name is Caitlin. I'm also deaf myself, and everything that you guys said, I have connected with it in many ways. And so I did understand the whole accent thing. People think I'm British often, or Australians. and I understand with all the accessibility and stuff. So my question is, did you guys ever struggle with your identity when you were younger? Just trying to figure out if you're deaf, hearing, hard of hearing, trying to fit into the certain group. Did you guys ever have that identity conflict?
Yeah. Hold on one second, let's get, make sure. Okay. Yeah, this Kaylin, yeah. Like I said before, in elementary school, you know, it was a deaf school, so everyone signed, and we did speak also, you know, so my whole family's hearing, of course, so I would sign or SimCom with them. And then with my deaf friends, you know, but then with moving, there were more and more hearing people in the world, and so like during middle school and high school, you know, becoming a teenager, trying to figure out who I am and what I was gonna do for my future, where I fit, you know, do I fit in the deaf world or the hearing world? And not really feeling like I fit in the hearing world, because, you know, of course, I'm always having to say, what, you know? And always being told I was getting special help or something like that. And then I also felt like deaf people excluded me because I had a cochlear. And so I didn't feel fully into that. So also with that moving, it was really difficult to juggle. I've always felt like it was in the middle, and I just decided, I'm Kaylin, that's it.
Anyone else would want to answer or add to that question?
I mean, that's the question.
There looks like another question from the audience. If we could pan to the opposite side of the room in the white shirt. Gotta wait. A little bit further. There we go. And can we clear the water on the table? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I just wanted, so for people that became, or for those guys that became part of hearing like later in life, did you guys find it any easier, like equally as hard to learn sign language? Okay, okay.
Go ahead.
All right, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So I think my connection from ASL was easier. I'm a visual learner. So that change was easy for me. But like I said, earlier, different sounds that come at me, that's where I get the stress. But ASL was easy, at least for me to learn.
Yeah, I first started learning ASL about 5 years ago. And so when I first started learning, it felt natural. It felt easier than what had been, it was easier to access than like being not being in an ASL classroom and just using English. And so because it provided access for me, I picked it up pretty, like I can understand sign language pretty well, but sometimes I still struggle to sign because I grew up speaking and with a hearing family.
Xavier has a question, is gonna comment.
I was gonna say, I think with signing, it's been really helpful for me because I, for example, talk with my friend on FaceTime who's in ASL 3, and we'd be talking, and then all of a sudden we just fall into sign language, and we just sign for the rest of the time because there's so many unique mannerisms and expression in signing that you don't really get from just speaking. And we have inside jokes in sign language, and so it's just a whole nother different, language within a language. Yeah.
Now,
Okay, we have another question on the other side of the room.
Okay.
And after this question, then we'll turn to Zoom and get caught up there. Give us just one moment,
That question.
and we're going to the black and white tank top with the yellow water bottle. Can we move?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Jaden and I just have a question for Xavier. I'm in Sophos, the sophomore honorary. And I just want to ask like your favorite part about being in an honorary.
So just to clarify, I'm in Links Junior Honorary, which is just, it's kind of hard to explain. It's just a group that's hand selected to represent the U of A and promote school spirit and also have a group of people together. I think my favorite thing about Links is everybody is so inviting and outgoing. And that was great for me because people were so open to talk to me about my hearing, and everybody, it was the first time I had like a group of people like that, especially being on my own the first 2 years, just doing my own thing with Wilbur. Like I never had a group of friends I could rely on. And so that was the first time I, went to the library with people. I went out to lunch with people. It was just so interesting. But I think everybody being open was just my favorite part about it.
Now,
Okay,
question.
now we'll go ahead with Zoom. Have we collected any questions yet?
We have a couple. Like,
Please do.
would you all want to learn another sign language besides ASL? If so, which one?
Oh, yeah, I like to learn Mexican sign. Yeah. I'm Mexican, so I know Spanish, I know English, ASL, so right now I'm trilingual. I'd like to add a fourth to that list. That'd be the best.
No. Others?
Yeah, I want to learn Spanish. I took a linguistics, ASL linguistics class. And the final paper, we had to pick a sign language that's not ASL and analyze it. And I chose MSL and I want to learn that. I think there's 20 or 30 signs that I've learned already from that I've studied. And some of the different hand shapes and movements. So I want to learn more of MSL, so that I can use it whenever I'm speaking Spanish.
Anyone?
I would probably want to learn French Sign Language just because that is American Sign Language's parent language, and I think it'd be really cool to learn the origins of French Sign Language and how that affected American Sign Language.
Okay. Very cool.
Learn many languages.
Many as you can. Learn them. I've been to a few different countries. I learned Kenyan sign. I learned a little bit of Chinese sign as well. CSL, it was so much fun. And MSL as well. So yes, I encourage you to keep learning. Is there another question, Tim?
Yeah, hello, my name is Lord, and I'm with the National Deaf Center on Post-Secondary Outcomes. My question for each panelist: we did a survey last year with deaf students at colleges across the US. We found that only 60% of them said they were likely to participate in campus student activities. Can you share whether you feel like you can actively participate in your campus's activities? Are you able to request accommodations for them easily?
Mama.
It's a lot easier to request interpreters for classes, I think, than for clubs or for sporting events but I'm an introvert anyway, so the accommodations plus being an introvert, yeah, that can be a challenge. In high school, I was a swimmer. And so I joined the swim team and I joined the swim team here at the rec. So, I've been interacting with various people doing that and I get really nervous.
Anyone else?
More question.
Another question from online?
Yeah, this is the last one. Right now.
Last.
There might be more.
Last question.
Hello, my name is Claire. Do you all prefer using ASL or English when talking to people that know both?
And that'll be our last question. Thank you.
English is great, especially in a hearing world. Sometimes I prefer signing, especially if it's with like my friend I was talking about on FaceTime, because like I can be signing and my parents don't know what we're talking about. And I can be talking about things I don't want to talk about with my parents. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mix for me. If there are people who know sign language, then I will use sign language. Sometimes if they don't know it, it's not their first language or they're not fluent yet. It might be easier just to say the word so that they understand it, or rather than spelling it or taking that time, just a little slower. But I'm comfortable with both, actually, both languages.
Yeah, about the same. It depends on the situation. I mean, if I'm with my friend and it's a very loud environment and I'm not gonna be able to hear what she's saying, yeah, of course I would want her to sign in that situation. But if my hands are full or something, I'm trying to walk somewhere, then if it's easier to talk, I'll talk. Just depends.
Same as what others have answered. It always depends. If I'm really comfortable and the other person is really comfortable with signing, that's fine with me. I know sign, so it really doesn't matter. All right, thank you so much. Let's give it up for the panelists. Really appreciate the bravery that is required to share such experiences. And thank you for our audience members, both in person and on Zoom. We really appreciate your questions and your participation. If you have any follow-up questions, reach out to Lisa Furr, our organizer. She also will have access to the video recordings and any other questions you may have. So thank you again. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Lisa for a few more comments.
Thank you. I am Lisa Furr. So thank you, Latrina, for already introducing me. Thank you to the panel. Thank you, Tim, for handling all the technology. Thank you, interpreters, Karina, Tori, Jennifer, and Sydney, who are on Zoom. Thank you so much. And most importantly, last but not least, thank you so much to the Disability and Psychoeducational Department. Deaf Studies Department. So we could not have done this without them. So thank you for volunteering to be here, panelists. And thank you all for giving up your time on a Friday to come to the panel. And those of you on Zoom, thank you as well. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.